Upselling turkey with an environmental appeal that the customer pays up for. That's the topic in this episode of the Business of Agriculture. Hey, Damian Mason here with a question before we hop into this episode of the Business of Agriculture. If you farm for a living, you employ a lot of amazing technology, from your inputs that you put into the soil to the tractor that you sit in, your combine, and the amazing data that it harvests. But has your soil analytics kept up technologically with everything else in your farming operation? I would venture to say that no, it is not. Sure, you check for your nitrogen, your phosphorus, and potassium, your micronutrients as well. But what about disease pressure? Do you know what diseases and what pests you're going to face next year? No, you don't. But you can now figure that out with Pattern Ag's predictive analytics. Think about it. They can tell you now with testing what the likelihood of facing nasty diseases, things like cyst nematode or sudden death syndrome, what the likelihood of you having this in your field. Then you know how to prepare, how to treat, and where to invest your money. It's using technology to make you bigger yields and therefore make you bigger money. Go to www.pattern.ag to learn more. They are pioneering the way in predictive agronomy. Hey there, welcome to another fantastic episode of the Business of Agriculture. I've got Heidi Diestel. She is a turkey producer. Her family is in the turkey production business in California, and they understand niche production involves marketing. That's one of her roles. She's a customer service promotion person for the company. She also knows production because she was raised in it. We're going to talk about how you upsell bird through use of terms like regenified corn. That's right. This is the first poultry facility that I'm aware of using Regenified corn, which she's going to tell us all about that and how there's an appeal to their customer base in doing so. Heidi, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
Okay, so the history of Diestel Turkey Ranch, and then how we now are using Regenified corn. That's where we're going with this whole episode. So there's a lot of history here. You're a young lady. You are third, fourth, fifth generation?
I'm fourth generation. Yep. Diestel Turkey Ranch was founded in 1949. So we're actually celebrating 75 years in business this year.
There's 16 pounds of turkey consumed per American per year. The last I did my research, I spoke at the American Turkey Federation or Turkey Producers Association about maybe 5-7 years ago at one of their national conferences. I did my homework. There's 4 or 5 large-scale poultry producers that are doing that. Many of the turkeys are grown in Minnesota, I think is the number one turkey producing state, mostly on a contractual arrangement, just like contract hog barns. You get paid to produce per bird per day, et cetera, et cetera. That is completely opposite of what happens at Diestel.
Yes, entirely. Yeah. So we are a vertically integrated turkey company. We do have some production, like we contract with some farmers out in the Dakotas, but a lot of our production is in California, about 3 hours directly east of San Francisco. So yeah, I mean, per capita consumption on turkey, unfortunately, in our category has been on the decline, not necessarily for our brand or our products, but as a category as a whole.
Are my numbers still accurate? About 16 pounds per American per year?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And everybody thinks Thanksgiving, that's like 1 pound between the holidays. The other 15 pounds doesn't happen between New Year's and Christmas. It happens as sandwiches generally, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's about 3 ways, right? You've got Thanksgiving, and then, you have a turkey sandwich or ground turkey when you're kind of, looking for that lean protein. So that's the way our society, our culture really ladders up to this protein. And it's a unique one for sure, right? Chicken is an everyday protein and turkey isn't as much. But those are the 3 ways that we consume it.
So the farming operation, as opposed to the large scale commercial, like I said, vertically integrated, you are vertically integrated yourself versus, the guy in Minnesota that has a turkey barn. And then, and it happens here in my home state of Indiana. Also, Southern Indiana has quite a bit of that kind of production. Yours is different. Yours happened largely produced by you, although you do have some contractual producers.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, we've been doing it this way for, like I said, I'm fourth generation. So, it started with one ranch and we've got about 7 or 8 here in California now that we produce off of. We're still very small in the scope of our industry. But for Diestel, it's really values over volume, right? So we're focused on niche, kind of production. My parents started in the 80s being no antibiotic and vegetarian fed. And that's basically like a foreign language in that time, in that era. Right. And, really what we looked at was yield, conformation, the meat to bone ratio, the eating experience of the product. And we sold our birds, in butcher shops, right? And some natural and organic, health food stores some of them didn't even have meat counters. So this is where, kind of our inception and our brand began. And as the natural and organic industry has continued to explode, we've continued to be a major player in that realm.
Yeah. So I liked it. I spent some time on your website. You've got, you don't really offer a conventional. You don't offer a bird. If I want to buy a bird from you, it's not going to have hormones and antibiotics. And hey, we had tetracycline in the drip lines in the barn on this one. We'll just go ahead and admit it. You don't do any of that crap. I mean, yours is all natural or organic, or now you have non-GMO. Mm-hmm. Tell me the categories again.
Yeah, exactly. We start with no antibiotics ever, right? So your natural bird. You've got certified organic, which we started producing in 1999, which was the first year you could produce a certified organic.
1999?
Mm-hmm.
There was a certified organic program clear back in 1999. Actually, that strikes me. I didn't think it was quite that old.
Yes, I know. It is. It really is. It's impressive. And then, we have non-GMO as it's associated with our regenerative bird, which is a pasture-based program. And obviously a new and expanding category that we're quite excited about.
And that's where this Regenified corn comes in.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But before we get into that, then Heidi, I want you to tell me a little bit about the production model. Like I said, your parents looked around, I'm guessing, and said, there's Purdue and Tyson, and we're going to have to go and get massive amounts of outside funding. My God, we're not even in the right. They made a decision. They're not going to pursue that. So you're certainly not, you're not certainly Ma and Pa Kettle out here with 6 hens behind the house, right?
Right.
Or Jennies, I guess it would be called, or whatever. What the hell do they call female turkeys?
Hens.
See, I said it right. I said hens. Okay. So anyway, you're certainly not that. So you are niche, but you're also large scale niche. How many pounds of turkeys do you sell, processed turkeys do you sell a year?
Yeah, that's a great question. We're doing probably 400,000 for like specific to Thanksgiving. And then, we probably got, I don't know, another 500,000 or 600,000 for the rest of the year. Which, it's not small production, but, we're producing a half of a % of the country's turkey production. So it is very small, right? But
again, it's very small compared to the massive poultry complex. But again, you're not small. You're selling 1 million pounds of processed bird per year, and you've got production on 2 places in the Dakotas and 6 or 8 places in California. So that's why I'm saying the industry is so damn big.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So the industry is massively big. You guys are in that. So your parents made a decision. We're going to pursue a niche. We're going to be in a high value, like you said, they were the first to say, we're not doing antibiotics and we're not going to do growth hormones, all that kind of stuff. They did that 40 plus years ago. Yeah,
they did. And my grandfather and my great uncle Ernest, who, were farming here in the early 1900s, they felt the same way, right? I mean, it was more of a philosophy of the family more than anything. It was a unique road. But I mean, you got to recognize too, that when my parents were getting into this business, I mean, most people thought they were crazy, right? My mom was a registered dietitian. She was working at the local hospital. My dad was this farmer, right? They had this one ranch. We lived on the ranch. It was very humble beginnings. And the reality is that in that day, they gave turkeys away at the grocery stores at Thanksgiving, right? They said, hey, buy your whole basket here. $150 worth of groceries or $100 worth of groceries,
and you get a free turkey.
We'll give you the turkey, right?
And grocery stores for a long time used the turkeys as they still use them as a loss leader, but they were using them as a true gimmick back then. And then the old struggle there, Heidi, that we always talked about is if your product is one of the 5 that's used as a loss leader, eventually the consumer perceives no value for that product, right? If it's the end cap display that they're using to get you in, then the consumer eventually thinks that it's not worth anything.
Definitely. And there are a lot of folks who still, balk at paying $6 a pound for a turkey while they'll gladly pay $25 a pound for a subpar cut of beef, right? So yeah, I mean, the perception and the value of turkey is much lower. But, at the end of the day, we all remember our Thanksgiving meal, right? We all remember if it was good or if it was horrible or who roasted the turkey and how bad it is every year or how great it is. And I think this is the experience, right? Is saying, hey, we're going to produce something that's really genuinely delicious and good. And we will have a following and the market will follow. And, thankfully, right, we were in the right spot at the right time with National Organic Foods and the start of Wild Oats and Whole Foods and, customers like this that really genuinely wanted producers like ourselves who cared about what we were producing and how it was getting to market. And then ultimately, the product really performed and we've amassed a good following of people who really enjoy our products. Yeah,
no, definitely very forward and it's the epitome of commodity mentality versus, specialized upselling mentality. Your parents, most people would not have done that. And they've been rewarded, although there's been a lot of work. All right, I want to hear more about how this all works, how I can go about getting your products. And then also I want to hear about Regenified corn. Before I do that, ladies and gentlemen, my friends at Redox have a great product lineup that enables your crops to maintain plant charge balance. They sent me this copy to read, I'll be honest with you, 2 months ago. And I got on the phone. I said, what in the hell is plant charge balance? And they said, oh. I said, I'm an ag guy, but I still don't know what you're talking about. So here's what I was explaining to me. Every plant that you produce in your fields takes up nutrients from the soil, right? Or from what the fertility you put out there. But all of these nutrients have an electrical charge. It's either positive or it's negative. Your plants will do whatever is needed to have a even balance of these charges. But growers' fertility program creates an uneven charge balance. Your plants have to work harder, it stresses them, and therefore you sacrifice yield. Don't want to do that, especially in years like this. So Redox Bionutrients has combined carbon chemistries with biostimulants to achieve plant charge balance. 30 years in business. You can trust them. Awesome people out there at Redox. Go check out redoxgrows.com and see if maybe you can make sure that your plants have the right kind of plant charge balance. How do you go about selling all this stuff? You process it yourself. You're vertically integrated. Yeah. You have incubators. You have hen chicks. You tell us the whole. I know that you're not focused on production, but you've been around it your whole life.
Oh yeah. So we have our own genetics because we used to do our own genetics and our own breeding. We outsource that now. So we have some folks that help us and do that for us and maintain our genetics throughout the different breeds that we raise. But yeah, we're sourcing the poults, getting them there, milling feed fresh daily, feeding the animals, getting them into the processing facility and then further processing. And then out, with our brand and distribution to the customers.
Processing. Do you own the processing facilities or do you have a contract with processing facilities?
No, they're owned assets. Yeah.
And does that happen in California?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. The Dakota birds are out in Dakota. California is in California.
The birds that are raised in Dakota do what?
They're processed obviously out in Dakota. The Dakotas.
Because you can't be trucking them. You can't be trucking birds across country to process.
No. Yeah.
All right. The upsell.
Yeah.
Meaning you're not obviously trying to be the cheapest turkey in the shelf. Do you have retailers? Can I find your stuff at Kroger or Walmart, or is it more the specialty stuff, the Whole Foods or the Wild Oats?
Yeah. So Whole Foods, Sprouts nationally. We do have some products on Amazon. You can buy direct from our website nationally. So we do have some national reach. We're not as much in Walmart or Target or, Kroger, as many Kroger banners. We're in some in the West. But we still have good scale in the natural organic sector.
Mm-hmm. So when I look for an all-natural bird, your labeling on it then says things like no hormones ever, but that's a little bit, no hormones are given to any poultry, right?
Correct. Yeah. Federal
So yours would be
regulation.
more about the antibiotics.
Yeah, antibiotic usage, vegetarian fed, access to the outdoors. We carry a third-party global animal partnership. It's a gap separating, so it's associated with the animal husbandry practices, these types of things.
Are these birds, by the way, if I go into a commercial operation, they're all white birds, they all look alike. Are yours all white birds? Or yours a different color?
Most are white. We do have a crossbreed, which we refer to as our heirloom collection, that are the bronze and black feathered birds. That's a specific product line that we do for the holiday.
Who wants that?
Folks that want a little bit of a story with their bird, right? Folks that want that particular turkey is certified organic. It has a more rich and like depth of a flavor. And there are a lot of people out there who want to have a little bit more of that, rather I say old-fashioned, rich and complex flavor than, what the white standard breeds have to offer today.
Yeah, I think I'd like to try it. And also, I want to come to your facility and with my shotgun, I want to shoot it. And that way I can say I shot the family bird. I don't know if you're going to allow me to do that.
Oh, I don't know about that, but
right.
Maybe we can. There's plenty of wild birds out here. We can take.
Okay, so you've got the all natural, you got the organic, but the heirloom breeds, you raise them organically, so they go into the organic package. And then tell me about this Regenified situation. That's what how you came across my desk.
Yeah, so this is super exciting, and I think it's something that is going to be in the future of our business for sure, and in the future of a lot of folks. The Regenified program is actually a certification. It's a third-party certification. It's quite stringent. They have a tiered system. And so, as a part of the program, you look at land stewardship, land management, right? So you are regenerating the soils and pastures on the acreage that are around you. And of course, our farms are within, and we are certified Regenified in the scope of this bird. But something a little unique for Diestel is we looked at our impact and our footprint, right? When we look at the regenerative movement, which is truly a shift in the philosophy of how we farm, we've always thought about the bird, the quality of that turkey, the quality of the feed we're providing it, the environment, all of these things, right? To ensure that taste and texture is premium. But, we started to think about the environmental impacts, climate impacts, and moreover, in looking at the land itself, right? The desertification of the land itself. And this is a conversation that really started with scientists. I'm sure there were some farmers who were talking about this, row crop farmers like Gabe Brown, who is part of the founding fathers, if you will, of the regenerative movement and the Regenified certification. Look him up. That he's a great wealth of knowledge. But
Gabe Brown has been, by the way, this side note, Gabe Brown has been a guest on the Business of Agriculture show with me. I read his book, Dirt to Soil, and I talked about him in my book over here, little plug, Food Fear, where I talk about the past, present, and future of American agriculture. And I said, you know what? Eventually what's going to happen is there's going to be a time when regenerative practices meet organic practices, meet conventional practices, and none of us should bitch because that's ultimately a good thing for everybody, producer, consumer, landowner, and that's where I think we're going with that. So the Regenified, like you said, it's a labeling or it's a accreditation, and so it's not unlike the non-GMO verified project, which actually I'm generally not a fan of. But because they've gone around and convinced the whole consumer base that somehow if it's not non-GMO verified, it's poison and you're killing your kids. But the Regenified is about how the crop is raised. And it's specific to corn in your case, because you buy corn that now has this. And so Gabe Brown and some other people now have created what Regenified labeling means.
Yeah, basically it's a certification, right? So it's a way for us to go out and source Regenified, regeneratively grown corn. We are hoping to continue to get, additional corn and soy. We source 650 tons. That sounds like a lot, but if you're in the world, this, corn and soy, it's a drop in the bucket. But it is incredibly significant because we were able to source that corn from, directly from the farmer, bring it across the country, mill it, maintain the transparency all the way back, and feed it to our regenerative turkeys. And by us not just looking at, our own footprint on our own farm, but also incorporating that of the feed and where this feed is coming from for our turkeys, we are having a much greater impact in this regenerative movement, and we're supporting it from the beginning all the way through to processing and distribution. And that is where this story really blossoms and comes together, and something that we hope more producers, push forward with.
Yeah, so that's another reason I wanted to have you on the show, Heidi, is I believe that this is where this is going for not just you, but for a lot of food producers. You are vertically integrated in that you have your genetics, your hatchlings, your poults, up to you do your own breeding, all that kind of stuff, processing, but you don't produce the grain. The old vertical integrated was, the Mason boys are out here growing corn to feed to the cows, then the cows to the milk, whatever. So you're saying we want a finger on that, though. We're not controlling you, but we will incentivize you to grow regenerative agricultural produced feedstuffs for us to use, because you can sell that story onto your consumer. Obviously, you're paying a premium for this, right?
Yeah, definitely. But this is kind of the other piece, right? Let's back up for a quick second and let's look at organic. Organic production started in 1999. That's a healthy bit ago, right? Almost 25 years? Knocking on 25 years. The organic industry is $69 billion, the entire organic sales in the country. Now let's break out that pie. Produce is 30% of that. Okay.
Right.
Meat, seafood, and poultry is 2.9%.
Yeah.
So when you go to the grocery store and you think, oh my gosh, all this stuff is organic, look at all this organic meat. Now we're 2.9% of that puzzle. And we fully support organic
2.9% of the 69 of the
69 billion in sales. We're meat, seafood, and poultry. We're talking red meat, seafood, poultry, chicken.
So organic meat doesn't account for a whole hell of a lot. And when you compare it to then just conventional, Walmart meat, organic is pretty small. I mean, you're under single digit percentile.
Oh, completely. Yeah. And here's the thing. That is in 25 years of this movement. Mm-hmm. And we fully support organic. Don't get me wrong. Yep. But regenerative practices, right, and organic practices are not synonymous. Will they hopefully end at the same point? I hope so. But there's a real barrier to entry for consumers who want to choose a better protein, but they maybe can't afford organic, right? And scaling regenerative may allow us to invite more people into the category and kind of bring production costs into line and something more affordable. And hey, by the way, extra bonus point, regenerating all that soil along the way.
Yeah, I agree. Your struggle is you're creating another category, but it's in line with everything else. It's in line with organic and and all this kind of thing. So does are you calling it regenerative turkey? What are you calling it?
Yeah, we call it our regenerative bird. It's a pasture raised program. The consumers, I mean, if you look at consumer awareness of regenerative, they have a general concept, but when it comes to poultry, they're much more closely aligned to pasture than they are regenerative, right? It's difficult to say. So we call it a regenerative pasture bird.
Okay. So it's your marketing is a regenerative pasture bird. It has an environmental appeal. Mm-hmm. And I said we opened this show by calling it upselling birds with an environmental appeal. It's not just environmental. I'm sure that you would tell me it's got a flavor component to it.
Yeah. I mean, it's a delicious turkey for sure.
But it is more environmental. You care about it from an agricultural standpoint. You and I both are ag people. We care about animals, stewardship and the land, but also how we take care of our animals, all that kind of thing. But the person that buys this, is doing it because of an environmental appeal. Yes?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how do you market that?
Well, that's a great question. First, you need to find the people who care about climate conscious
I didn't
products.
surprise you. You just said that's your. I ask great questions. 360 episodes of this damn thing. Of course, I ask great questions. How are you surprised by that?
It's the quality of the question. So first, to answer it, you've got to find the right generation. Okay, the boomers don't care about this. I mean, maybe they do. Let me rephrase. Maybe they do care, but not a huge percentage of them. They were raised that organic is best, and right, because this is when organic was coming into the market. It's really your younger generations that genuinely want to see the food and the companies that they support, whether it's the shoes on their feet, the clothes on their back, the food that they eat, having some type of an impact that is friendly to the environment or to the climate. And so, you're looking at social digital avenues, right, to communicate, because that's where this generation is. They're not looking at the weekly specials on Kroger's,
Sunday flyer
rack. Yeah, no, but they are definitely in the social digital realm. And so being really present to them there and communicating our story in a very authentic way. Half the time it's just like with iPhone footage, and helping them understand where their food is coming from and choices that they can make. And, that's how we're getting started.
So you are in a position now where you are, and I hate this term, educating the consumer. I've been trying to tell ag people forever, stop with this whole, we've got to educate the consumer, because what that really means is I'm going to keep doing what I want to do, however I want to do it, and you should go piss up a rope, consumer, because you just don't know nothing. You need to educate it. And imagine when you're the consumer and, in a $1 million home in the suburbs, like some bumpkin ass just told me they need to educate me about why they're putting poison on my food. I mean, just think about the disconnect between those two. So I'm glad you didn't say educate the consumer. What you're really doing is you're explaining what regenerative practices are and why that is something that should have appeal to them from an environmental standpoint. Is that right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, listen, we're more disconnected from where our food comes from than ever, right? I mean, there are more and more farms, with high rates of attrition from generation to generation. This is not an easy road. Farming's not an easy road on a good day, and it's certainly not easy, in our generation of social, digital, everything being non-tangible, right? All of this. So, for us, it's more about connecting people to their food, connecting people to the power of their dollar, and helping them understand where their food comes from. And I genuinely believe that, the Gen Zs, the younger generations, they are being raised in a very conscious environment, talking about a very conscious environment, whether you're talking about the climate or you're talking about the food, the protein content, the certified organic or not, right? I mean, all of these things are conversations in their households. We're more and more aware of harmful chemicals, so on and so forth. All of the things, there's so many things you got to care about in today's day. And so, they're choosing a mission and they're supporting those brands, but those brands have to be relevant to them. They have to be speaking to them on the platforms and in the language in which they're going to receive that information.
Talking to Heidi Diestel with Diestel Turkey Ranch about regenerative, or the actual word is, what is it now?
Regenified Certified.
Regenified Certified. And we're going to talk about the money, and we're going to talk about the future of the market. And I also want to remind you, dear listener, it was she, not me, who insulted the baby boomers. I'm not saying that I haven't done so as a proud Gen Xer, but it was she that insulted the baby boomers, not this Gen Xer. Okay, real quickly, if you are in the business of agriculture, you understand that right now we're in a revenue downturn. Things are a little bit tight out here. We've been hearing a lot about it. Lots of people are getting a little more antsy probably than they should, but that's the way we work in agriculture. Oh my God, there's going to be a downturn, but it's okay. What you need to do is think about revenue. What about diversification of revenue? If you are a farmer, now's the time to take up a sustainability program that could make you some money on acres you're already farming. Maybe you change to some of these regenerative practices like Ms. Heidi is talking about. Strip till, reduced till, cover crops. These are the kind of things you might be opposed to, but guess what? You shouldn't be, because they can pay you money. Have you heard the Secretary of Vilsack speak in the last 6 months? Every paragraph, uses the words climate smart agriculture. Truterra, a sponsor of the Business of Agriculture show, can help you in your regenerative journey to make agronomic, economic, and environmental changes to your farming operation that will reward you financially. Go to truterraag.com. It's a Land O'Lakes company. And you know what? You might be able to make some money off of this, and it would probably be a smart thing to do given where we are in agriculture right now. truterraag.com. Okay, baby boom and salter. The customers that you are selling to are paying a premium. How much is the premium? On Regenified turkey, for instance. This is a new category for you, right? You've only been pushing this out now for the last, so they're paying a premium. So if I buy a Regenified turkey, and I know it's not, we can compare it to sales and, you know, all that kind of stuff. In general, is it 20% premium, 30% premium, 50% premium over conventional?
Well, let's drop all the way to a conventional bird, right? Your most conventional turkey for the holidays is $1.99 at your
what?
Like $1.99 at your local grocer. And these birds are anywhere between $5.99 and $6.99 at your Thanksgiving meal.
Okay, so we're three times on a Regenified bird. And then you don't what about if I want to buy it as slices at Whole Foods? Can I buy Regenified turkey breast slices?
Maybe next year. Maybe next year you can, but not in this moment.
Because right now you're just, and it's not that you don't want to supply it, it's because you're still getting this whole entire product category assembled.
Yeah, so as of like 10 days ago, we launched a primal grind at Sprouts. You can go buy it in your local Sprouts grocery store. The primal blend is turkey, ground turkey, heart and liver. Okay, so there's a little bit of inclusion there, better vitamins and minerals for your serving size. That is the first to market. That's the first of its kind. We should have some deli programming in 2025, which we're very excited about. But yeah, I mean, we're the first regenerative turkey in the country. And we've been doing this program pretty concertedly for the last 3 years, really working towards the certification.
I like it. From a standpoint of regenerative to be regenified, your category, because you're inventing it, frankly, on your end, you're saying our birds are going to have exposure to the outdoors, so they have access to the outdoors. Is there a spacing limitation?
Yeah, we do. Yes, we do have. It's quite a large space. So there's a couple things twin lining here. We use Global Animal Partnership, which is a GAP, third-party animal husbandry. Yep. These birds are considered GAP Step 1, which if you're familiar with that program, it goes from 1 to 5, and it has a square footage analysis that goes with it. We have them at GAP Step 1 because we are, we want to be the most flexible with the program, right? But yes, the birds basically have a house that they can go in at night. We still need to give cover in the evenings.
To protect them from predation.
Yeah, predators. Yeah, I mean, avian influenza, I don't know if we remember a couple of years ago, but we open the doors in the morning and the birds head out into predetermined paddocks. These paddocks stretch out, 500 feet out into the pasture. We kind of are doing like a spoke and wheel model, if you will. Okay. So they're heading out and we're rotating with multi-species. So we've opted to have cattle, sheep, goats, all a part of the program. So you have your ruminants come in and then you have your poultry following the ruminants.
So there's a lot of management, and there's also, you've got these other animals. Are these other animals yours, or the neighbor guy you're teaming up with?
No, so we teamed up with the Burroughs family, who is in the Central Valley, right close to us here, who are also leaders in regenerative practices. They actually do it with, nuts, and they have sheep and goat and the cows. So, I mean, we have to find these ruminant farmers who are willing to participate in a regenerative program, right? Because your cattle ranchers are not necessarily looking to have rest time in their pastures where they don't get to grow cattle.
Mm-hmm. What about then, Heidi, those are practices you came up with. No one said you have to do this to be qualified as Regenified turkey. You came up with that.
Well, yes. I mean, I would say that it's a pretty common expectation of a regenerative program is to have the rotational grazing aspect. So I think it's a proven method, but
there's not a lot of customers that are even demanding that this be done because it's a fairly new category.
Oh, yeah, no, I think we're leading the charge. I think what the consumers are asking for are a more climate conscious product, right? They're saying like, hey, can you do this? And can it benefit the climate instead of being a benefit, a negative to the climate? Can it be a neutral to positive? And Diestel is saying, yeah, we definitely can. And let us show you how, right? And we've opted to have this rotational grazing multi-species approach. We've opted to go all the way and source the regenerative corn that was grown in a regenerative manner.
So let's talk about that, because the person listening to this that just loves to grow corn, and I have a lot of those people because I'm an Indiana guy, and, we got people like that. So they're saying, all right, what if I want to grow Regenified Certified corn? Mm-hmm. That's where you are, because this is pretty front step. We talk about Gabe, and like I said, he's been on my show, and he's going to tell you he's not anti-herbicide usage. He's limited herbicide usage. He's way big on limited or a no-till. So regenerative to you means cover cropping, reduced tillage to no-till, and what else?
Yeah. So, I mean, you've got your principles of, what is regenerative, right? And really you're looking at unlocking the soil nutrients. The farmer out in Illinois that we source the corn from, he's actually a tier 5 producer, which is very impressive. The Regenified,
in terms of he checks off a bunch of boxes like on cover cropping, no-till, et cetera, et cetera. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So
what do you mean tier 5 that he sucks? Are you saying this guy sucks so bad there's like 4 tiers in front of him, and the fact that he's still in business as a tier 5 producer is remarkable?
No. Tier 5 is like the Regenified program has 1 to 5. 5 is the highest tier. So he's been doing this for a very long time. And his farm is really far along in the regenerification of his soil, is what I'm saying.
Okay, so it's all the things we just talked about. Can it be GMO?
No, it is non-GMO. The corn is non-GMO.
If I want to grow Regenified corn, it can't be genetically engineered seed?
No.
Okay.
To my knowledge, no. And we, Diestel, have it as a non-GMO, verified. Yeah,
because you offer that to your customers. Okay. So now here's the person that's calling BS on this is going to say, well, they keep talking about all the good for the environment. She's hiring somebody in Illinois to grow this and shipping it out to California. That seems kind of wasteful. Of course, we know we can move a bushel of corn fairly inexpensively, but why Illinois? Was that the best option for you from the Regenified thing, the best teaming? How'd you choose that?
Yeah. So when we got into the Regenified program, we expressed our real need to source regeneratively grown corn and soy. Yep. And, for all of you out there, there isn't a lot of Regenified corn and soy. And so we need more. We need more farmers. We need more sourcing in the United States. So they linked us up with Greg, who's in Illinois. My brother went out and met him. And he was one of the few guys who had, harvest, and we were able to lock in 650 tons and then ship it out. And yeah, I would say,
about 23,000 bushels, by the way, if you run that in half. So it's not a train load, but it's significant. And now this is going to grow. Your thought is this initial 23,000 bushels keeps growing because you think this category for you at Diestel grows, right, Heidi?
Definitely. Yeah, it's a key component. The feed in poultry, the feed is a key component to the recipe because you need to have a well-rounded holistic program as you approach the regenification. I mean, it would be silly to go source commodity feed that does nothing to support the regenification of that, soil in the Midwest. Yep. And then use that for your birds and just use the land that you're farming on.
You mentioned, this is corn. You mentioned soy. To get the protein component to feed in your rations, you're also using some soy. Are you there yet on using regenerative agricultural grown soybeans, or is it not there yet?
Not there yet. So, you could be the first. Any one of these listeners, maybe a boomer could be the first.
Well, that'd be a nice gesture for you to make up to that entire generation. All right, so get me out of here. I like the concept. I always like about upselling. I'm probably I'm not going to be a buyer based on thinking that buying a turkey is going to change the weather. So the climate change crisis is not going to appeal to me, but that's also because I'm a Gen Xer, maybe. Or I can think. But anyway, let's go with the other ones. I love the upsell. I love the environmental appeal. I love that you clearly know we're going to grow. You're growing. I mean, your sales are growing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're not going to do so by just saying we're going to make more commodity birds. You grew a category. You invented a category.
Right. Yes. Yeah. And, at the end of the day, too, climate, and in the certain, the climate conversation that we're in, no matter what side of the fence you're on in that discussion, this is really about enhancing our natural, ecosystems, right? It's about creating soil. It's about having depth of nutrients unlocked within our soil. It's about getting off the hamster wheel of all the applications of chemicals and what have you on your farms and ranches, and just being in this hamster wheel with, a dust bowl headed our way. So, be on whatever fence you'd like about climate. But at the end of the day, we're doing something here in this movement that is incredibly real and tangible, and it has great results for the nutrient density of the corn and the soy, as we've seen, and we're hoping that it will parlay all the way through to the bird itself.
Yeah, by the way, that you stated it the way I would state it. I'm not going to get into the climate sky is falling thing, simply because I believe it's mass hysteria created by people that are using it for political gain. But I will say, I was an FFA and I wanted to improve the soil. I own property and I want my creeks to run clear. So the regenerative thing is more about stewardship of the resources that we have out here. And that's what I like the story. Now, you mentioned nutrient density. I've covered this before. Kevin Folta was a guest on this show, University of Florida professor, and we talked at great length about the next challenge is nutrient density. Do you believe that regenerative practices for the grain will create a more nutrient dense, better, not just better tasting, not just better marketed bird? Do you think, you've been in the bird business now your whole life, does this matter for the bird?
Yes, I believe so. You're not going to see, more protein, right? You're not going to miraculously see more protein, but your enhanced vitamins, minerals, right? All of your micro, this is all going to be better. And we've seen a benefit in the feed, the corn and the soy. When there's been studies done, we tested the corn that we sourced for nutrient density and its makeup, right? Because again, we're milling the feed ourselves. Yep. We're looking at the mixture that the birds are eating, and we currently have meat in with a nutrient density study. So we're very excited to see those results. But yes, definitely.
And Heidi, that's not fluff. I mean, that's verifiable. It's not fluff. And I think that's the neat part about this is that I've read that birds that are on a pasture program do get some things from the soil, and it does create a different, shall we say, chemical makeup of the meat. I mean, it does change things. So we all know that if you ate a deer that if you shot a deer and ate it, and it all ever ate was pine cones up in northern Michigan, or if you shot a deer in this field behind my house that's on a steady diet of corn and alfalfa, that deer is going to taste different. And that's a wild animal. Now imagine same thing with a turkey. So
yeah. Well, we've all had this experience in produce, right? You buy an organic carrot from your grocery store, and then you buy maybe not certified organic, but an organically grown carrot from your local CSA farmer who probably has better soil. It's fresher, right? You're tasting the difference. There's higher nutrient density in that carrot from your local CSA farmer than there will ever be in the grocery store organic carrot. And it's the same concept. We're taking however many vitamins and minerals and pills and this and that, right? Whether it's in the natural holistic health space or pharmaceutical, space. Well, a lot of that stuff could come into our meat. We're just not farming in a way in which enhances the meat this way, right? We removed all of this in the name of volume, in the name of efficiency. We said, no, keep them enclosed in a barn because we can control the climate and the birds can grow 3 days faster, which is an X percentage on turns and whatever else, this big ad cares about.
And neither of us are faulting that. That's the system that we grew up in, or, we have all known. But the point is, there's also room for this. And I've been preaching it for a long time. Long before I knew you, I was preaching that there's room for value-added food. And the consumer, when people say, oh, you don't understand, all that matters to consumers is taste or a price. I say, well, then why are there 4,000 Whole Foods outlets?
Right.
There's not
price
one
matters.
There's not one thing at Whole Foods that is
and don't get me wrong, price matters. And as we scale our, the prices we talked about earlier, I hope come down. Yeah. Because the reality is we want to grow this category. We want it to become more efficient, and price speaks volumes. Everyone says, oh yeah, I would love to support that. Then they go and they say, nope, I'm going to go for my $2.99 turkey instead of my $5.99 turkey, regardless of the fact that on a 20-pound hen, that's going to be about $30, which is like 3 Starbucks in today's dollars. So, it's not that big of a difference. But at the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with what Big Ag does. It's just that we see a different way, and we see all the benefits of that way. And that's what we're here talking about. And that's what we really believe in. And that's what we want. That's what swings our feet out of bed in the morning. Right. So yeah.
Regenified turkey. And you just gave me the soundbite that I'm going to put out there. That's what you just said. There's nothing wrong with what Big Ag does, but we think we've got an opportunity to capitalize on on a niche that it can also grow, and also it satisfies the customer. So it's not as though we're using legislation to force this in on anybody, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, it's a choice. It's a choice. We think it's the better choice, the right choice, but there's a choice.
You'll come back in a couple of years and tell me how things go?
For sure. Yes, definitely. We'll stay in touch.
You're going to insult some other generations when you're on?
It's possible. It's possible. But, you enjoyed listening to it, so that's all that matters.
I actually did, yes. That's why I went ahead and invited you back on. Her name is Heidi Diestel. If you want to learn more about Diestel Family Ranch, which became the first certified Regenified turkey brand, I think it's kind of a cool website. I think that's neat what they're doing. They're not the only entity doing this, goodness knows, but they're doing it pretty darn well. And I like the idea of shooting for value. In a time and an era right now, we're talking about commodity production being below cost of prices being below cost of production. We need this kind of thinking, and there are opportunities out there. Is it going to appeal to every customer? We know that is not the case, but we know that there's also an opportunity that we can tap into. If they want to find out more, where do they go?
DiestelTurkey.com.
It's like the word diesel, like your tractor with a T in it. Diestel Ranch, right? Diestel Turkey. Yes. Diestel Turkey.
Yes. Yep. Diestel Family Ranch on Instagram, Facebook. We're there.
Got it. Her name's Heidi. My name is Damian Mason. Thanks so much for being here. Go and check out TrueTerra for sustainability programs that can give you revenue diversification in your farm. If you want to get plant charge balance right, go ahead and check out Redox Grows. And also don't forget my friends at Pattern Ag, giving you predictive analytics so that you are treating today so that you don't have soil pathogens costing you yield tomorrow. Till next time, thanks for being here. I'm Damian Mason, and this is the Business of Agriculture. Hey, thanks for being here. This episode of the Business of Agriculture was brought to you by Pattern Ag. You've heard me talk about Pattern Ag because I think it's a pretty cool concept. New technology that allows you to predict the problems you're going to have and therefore treat them before those problems cost you money. What kind of problems am I talking about? Pests and disease. Things like cordon rootworm, sudden death syndrome, cyst nematode, and a whole bunch of other bad things that happen out there in the field that can cost you money. Guess what? Pattern Ag will let you find out ahead of time if the disease or the pest pressure is there, and therefore you're treating it before it costs you any money. What a great concept. Go to pattern.ag, that's www.pattern.ag, to learn more about their product, their technology, how it can make you money, save you yield, and also where you can find a rep that can come out there and do the work for you. Pattern.ag.